Someone asked me if I could go on and talk about my developer environment. I can certainly do that. Start with the plain desktop. I normally used to fuck with just pure black background, but I actually vibe coded out a series of wallpapers representing Chinese Hanzi so that it would help me learn Mandarin better. So now, like every 5 minutes, the desktop wallpaper changes to a different Hanzi, which I think is pretty cool. This ain't even developer environment. This is just like super basic computer stuff, right? So I could control escape, pull up my XFCE4 start menu type deal here. I type A to hit Alacrity. Alacrity is my terminal of choice at the moment. Previously, I have used Terminator, and Terminator's good on its own, actually. Terminator's pretty good. It offers built-in screen splitting, which I generally like that kind of stuff, but it does eat up a lot of screen space, so you have to kind of full screen in order to take advantage, and even then you still have like individual window titles over each terminal here. Alacrity is a little bit more stripped down, but it works. It does what it needs to do. Whenever I open a new ZSH session, or whenever I reload my ZSHRC, I actually get a different Hanzi over here in the terminal. This is actually an extension off of something that I built a long time ago that would tell me what day of the week it currently was using Japanese kanji instead. I decided to tweak the code to be Chinese centric and to give me a random Hanzi out of the first top 100 Hanzi. So that's another little tiny thing. You can take a look at my ZSH, which is this is actually from Oh My ZSH, which if we open up Brave and go to Oh My ZSH, if you haven't installed something like this yet, this is a good thing for having a nice custom terminal. So in addition to this, we could take a look at my zshrc.pre Oh My ZSH, which is all of my stuff historically that used to be in my bash RC and is now in ZSH. A lot of this is exports, a lot of this is aliases, a lot of this is custom functions. As an example, we've got get random Hanzi. This is actually what runs at the beginning of my ZSH session in order to select a random Hanzi. As you can see, it's pulling from a function or a program in my bin folder that's top 100 Hanzi. So if you run top 100 Hanzi with no parameters, it'll just give you one random Hanzi, but if you specify a number, it will dump out a bunch of random Hanzi off of that, which I think is pretty cool. Normally, one of the first things I do in a terminal session, actually before I continue, so I like to clear the screen a lot. And one of the things, so there's multiple ways to do this. You can type clear to clear the screen, right? I've aliased this to the letter C. So all I have to type is C and enter. But I learned later that you can also do Control L to clear the screen, which is fucking cool. So one of the first things I do is I run tmux. And often I'll run tmux by specifying the name of a new session. So that way, if I detach that session and I have multiple sessions, I can reattach the session by specifying the name of the session. So as an example of this, let's go and run tmux new with session name game dev. As you can see, we have a new Hanzi because we're in a new ZSH session. We got the time and date in the bottom right hand corner. I like to display seconds because it kind of gives me an idea if anything hangs, because I can just look at the clock and see if like the second counter is not moving. So one of the first things I'll do in Tmux, and actually to demonstrate the Tmux attach functionality, I'm going to do Control A and then D to detach. So now to attach again, I do Tmux attach -T and then the name of the session. So that's pretty good, right? Next, let's take a look inside my Tmux config. Because by default, Tmux comes with some really fucked up key bindings. So I actually unbind the default Control B, which is like, whoever the fuck came up with this shit needs to be fucking shot. I'm sorry, but this shit was gross. I come from GNU Screen, so like, I don't even have Screen installed. That's how long it's been. They don't even have it available. They're even recommending Biobu because Screen is really fucking old. But my point was that my key bindings come from the era of Screen. So if you're already familiar with Screen, then you might actually like my config. Because this first setup was one of the very first things I ever did when I migrated Tmux. I'm not even sure that I get that much more functionality out of Tmux than I did Screen, but it is worth taking a look at the fact that there are different terminal emulators. A lot of this is pretty much like color centric, making sure that the color specifications are correct, color choices, color schemes. So for splitting windows, I can do something like Control A and then dash. And then to kill that terminal, I can do Control D. In addition, I can do Control A pipe to get a side split like this. And you can even split them like pretty deep if you really wanted to. So let's say you have another pane open. So these things at the bottom are called Tmux panes. And so to like navigate between panes, I've mapped my keys so that I do Control A C to go back one and Control A B to go forward one. So now I have the ability to cycle through each one of these different panes here, which is kind of useful. I'm able to very quickly navigate. In addition, I can do Control A and then the number of the pane in order to jump to that pane number. It's pretty useful. Can do a lot in a very small space. Very rapidly. So using this setup, I like to do game development. I like to write code. I like to write scripts. I like to do hacking, all from the terminal. The reason being is that plain text is so nice to work with. If you have access to plain text, you can do just about anything. If you don't have to navigate through user interfaces, deal with clunky windows, have to click on buttons and shit, like you can do so much from this space alone. It really reduces the amount of thinking that you have to do on a lot of different things, such as like how you actually achieve a task, and you can focus more on achieving the task itself. Let's cd into my primary game folder. We've got a lot of stuff in this folder. Lots of files. But to get started, let's just open one file. libdraw.cpp. This is the meat of everything required to actually render the game to the window, whether it's in the browser or in a desktop window. All that code's handled here. So I'm using neovim, and I could get into my neovim config a little bit. A lot of this is stolen from tej.dev. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that guy, but him and the Primogen were really the two big forces that kind of got me to jump off of original, like old school Vim, and move over here to this neovim. One of the things that I had to deal with in this migration process was converting my original vimrc over into init.lua syntax. But tej.dev pointed me towards something called Kickstart, which a lot of this originally came from. So it's been a while since I pushed to my repo, but I actually have this up on my GitHub for anyone who wants to like copy or clone my neovim setup. So I've played around with a number of different things over time. I forgot what I used before FZF, and I don't even really use it all that much as it is, but I replaced something with this. I forget. It might have been Tree Sitter. It might have been something else. I forget. But there's a lot of shit here. And at the end of the day, what it allows for me to do is whenever I'm working in a particular language or environment, I can have some customizations that like hook the editor into an LSP that's running, so I can get like on the fly error and warning feedback from the code itself. So like as an example, this is giving me a warning right here, so it's probably yelling about something being deprecated. Okay, no, it's got an undefined global here. So I wonder if Copilot, which I do control Copilot enable in order to turn on, because I've had a lot of better success turning Copilot on and off and being a lot more selective about using it. Unpack is deprecated. So we actually just fixed a deprecated line there. I don't know that this is accurate or not, but let's find out if it yells at us. So now it's only got one warning there. My leader key still works, so I guess I didn't break anything. So there you go. Control D to go down a page, Control B to go up a page. 1 capital G to jump to the top, capital G to jump to the bottom. Shift ZZ, save and quit. Control D, close terminal. Now we're back over into our regular Vim. I'm going to close and reopen it because we did actually change our configuration. Let's see, line 19 is yelling that we're not using texture keys. I feel like this is a lie, though. Yeah, see? It thinks that we're not using it, but we totally are. And it's complaining that we're not using it because it's actually pulling in things from different locations over here. So One thing that I could do is yank these, and instead of using a whole ass texture keys like that, we'll just paste in like this. So everything still seems good. Let's open up a terminal inside of neovim so that we can have a very fast feedback loop of being able to like try building the program and then running it. Make clean, make, and /game to run. There we are. There's our game. Now I'm in an environment where I could actually very quickly tab back over, Control C, quit, and we can get back to coding now. So personally, I like this setup. This setup works for me. I can do so much stuff so quickly from this perspective. People will complain about, oh, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And it's like, well, when I run into those problems, I'll deal with those problems. But I'm not about to jump ship just because something has so much more stuff that I may or may not need in it. And I like being able to utilize individual tools to as much saturation as I'm able to before I have any sort of desire to change my editor or to change my tooling or to change languages or anything like that. Like, there was a real reason why I spent several days converting my game's code from C to C++. And that's because I didn't want to start like hand rolling every single data structure that I'm using. Like, that was a real problem that I actually solved with the STL. And it's worked out very, very great. So when I make those decisions, I want them to work out great. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I don't want to feel upset. I don't want to get mad. And I don't want to get mad at individual people or groups of people either if I can avoid it. But if I were to allow myself to succumb to the pressure of changing IDEs or picking up some other thing, and I end up like spending X amount of time doing it, and then I realize, oh man, this fucking sucks. Why did I allow these people to push me around? Why did I not just go with my gut instinct? You know, it's very important to go with your gut instinct. It's very important to do things in your life that reduce stress, that reduce friction, that make your life better. You know, that's kind of a brief rundown of my editor setup. I'm using, I realized I'm saving this part for the very end. This is my Linux. I'm running Debian 6.1, and it's pretty great. I was previously on Ubuntu, but I ended up going with Debian because Ubuntu's installer out of the box, while it does have, quote, support for ZFS, and I'll end up doing some videos about ZFS as well because it's fucking great. While Ubuntu has support for ZFS, the installer did not have support for doing a proper ZFS install. So I migrated from X4 over to ZFS on this machine as of like October because it makes backups a lot easier. And we'll do some more about that in the future, but the video's already clocking in, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. I hope that someone is inspired by my setup and takes time to actually examine their own setup Maybe strip it down a bit. Make it a little bit more naked. Because as you find, you actually run faster when you wear less clothes.
Oh no.